Take a minute to imagine that you have your dream saxophone. The saxophone you've always wanted. And on that saxophone, you have a mouthpiece made by the world's best mouthpiece maker, custom made to get the exact sound you're looking for. And a state-of-the-art ligature holds onto that mouthpiece the perfect reed. If you're not able to form a proper saxophone embouchure, none of that matters. So in today's video, we're going to answer the question, how do you form the perfect saxophone embouchure? More specifically, the perfect saxophone embouchure for your anatomy. We'll look more closely at what the saxophone embouchure really does. And I'll share with you an insight that I received from a trumpet teacher that has had a profound effect on how I approach the saxophone. In addition, I'll give you 2 exercises that will teach you exactly how much embouchure pressure you need to use throughout the entire range of the instrument. Finally, we'll tackle the age-old question. What about the difference between a jazz embouchure and a classical embouchure? Be sure to stick around till the end of this video because I have a very unique perspective on this, since I am the only saxophonist on YouTube in braces. And because of this, I've had to overcome an extra layer of difficulty in forming the embouchure. Quite literally. The role of the embouchure on a single reed instrument is twofold. It provides an airtight seal, but it also, even more importantly, acts as a cushion to dampen the higher harmonics of the reed. If you were to just play the natural frequency of the reed, it would sound like this. And some players like Lenny, Pickett, and Rocky Yera are able to do this on purpose with a great degree of control, to be able to reach usable notes across 5 or even 6 octaves. On the other hand, the inability to effectively dampen the higher frequencies of the reed is one of the reasons that beginners often squeak. So the embouchure has to both apply enough pressure to allow only the desired frequencies to sound, but not so much pressure that it interferes with the free vibration of the reed. And here we have kind of a big problem because the muscle that controls the raising of the lower jaw, the masseter muscle, is the strongest in the human body in terms of the amount of force applied. And therefore, as we are well aware, it really does not take too much force to completely overpressure the reed and totally choke off the vibration. This is the reason why less experienced saxophonists often produce a thin or constricted sound. They're simply not allowing the reed to vibrate. So ultimately, what it means to develop a strong embouchure is to have the muscle strength to hold the embouchure in place and prevent the natural tendency of closing the mouth with too much force around the mouthpiece. Before we talk about forming the embouchure properly, let's establish a baseline of what we're going for. Rather than thinking about bringing the bottom jaw up to the reed, imagine that the reed is resting on a flat cushion, the lip, supported by the bottom teeth. So it's almost like resting your reed on the lips rather than closing your lips around the mouthpiece. We also don't want our lips to form a pucker shape, because what this is going to do is constrict the sides of the reed and further inhibit the vibration. Now, before we set the ideal embouchure, let's talk about posture and proper positioning of the saxophone. Stand up straight and pull your arms behind you with your palms facing forward. This is the position that you want to keep your rib cage in when you're inhaling and blowing, so that you're playing with proper breath support. Now set your neck strap or harness so that the saxophone mouthpiece comes up to your top teeth, with your head looking forward in a neutral position. We want to both avoid biting down on the mouthpiece with too much pressure and lowering our head too much, and as a result, constricting our airstream. Once you've found this position, now we're ready to set the embouchure. This approach to embouchure that I'm about to show you is one that I recently discovered because I'm still in braces for hopefully just a few more weeks. And for about the past year and a half, I've been relearning how to play the saxophone after my double jaw surgery. So I have braces on both my upper and lower teeth, and this has the effect of pushing the lips both out and up, which is the exact opposite of what we should be doing to form a saxophone embouchure. So then how do we set the embouchure? To do this, we're going to make what I call the face, which is the image you saw when you clicked the thumbnail to this video. To do this, you're going to pull the corners of your mouth down in an exaggerated frown. And then while they're in this position, open your lips and lightly roll the bottom lip out. Now in this position, bring the mouthpiece up to your top teeth, and while really focusing on pulling the corners of the mouth down, close your lips by bringing the top lip down around the mouthpiece. You can also imagine that your top lip is in a horseshoe shape around the top of the mouthpiece. This exaggerated position will also help us to prevent the bottom lip from pulling up, so that it's simply acting as a cushion for the reed to rest against. Now before we blow into the saxophone, there's one more thing I want to tell you. I'm greatly influenced by the trumpet teacher Claude Gordon, who would tell his students to forget the lip and let the air do the work. So let's try the same thing here. When you blow into the saxophone with this embouchure that we've set up, I want you to put, as much as possible, all the focus on the blowing muscles. And to the extent you put any attention at all on the embouchure, make it that exaggerated pull down of the corners, because that's going to help you not overpressure the reed with your bottom lip. So when you blow into the saxophone, let the air do the work, and simply allow the embouchure to adjust as needed. If you put your focus on pushing air through the instrument while pulling the corners of your mouth down, you'll find that the lips just naturally contract up to the right position. And the more that we're able to supply a steady airstream, the less our embouchure will compensate and overpressure the reed. So let's try this with the saxophone now. Now set your embouchure into that position we talked about with your corners pulled down, and blow an easy note like a low F or low G. And don't think about the embouchure at all. Put all your focus on supplying a steady airstream from the blowing muscles, specifically the ones you feel while keeping the chest up as you exhale. And now for the two exercises we can do to calibrate our embouchure on any note. Building off what we just learned, make the face and then set your embouchure with the mouthpiece in your mouth. Now blow a steady airstream and try to find the point right where the reed starts to vibrate. If you're doing this correctly, this will teach you the exact amount of embouchure pressure you need to play that note. This exercise is actually how I learned to play with enough breath support and the correct embouchure pressure to be able to use a strength 5 reed on a number of different mouthpieces. So at first, do this on an easy note like low F. But my favorite note to do it on is definitely low B flat. Low B flat is a great test note to do this on, because if there is even a little bit too much pressure, then you'll get the first or second overtone instead of the fundamental. So try to start a low B flat using just the airstream and only get the fundamental and no overtones. And you can do this exercise with any other note in the range, even the palm keys or altissimo register. Finally, let me show you one of my favorite exercises for calibrating the embouchure, which comes from Joe Allard. Set your embouchure as we've been doing and finger a low C sharp. But this time, lift your top lip off the mouthpiece. Then try to sound the note. Essentially, you're introducing a giant leak into your embouchure, so you're going to have to play with a lot more breath support. But also, when you lift the top lip off the mouthpiece, your bottom lip is going to want to follow it up. So in the beginning, this could be very difficult, and you may find that you completely stop the reed from vibrating. If this happens, just keep trying, because once you finally do get it, it basically tells you the exact amount of lower lip pressure that you need on the reed. And then when you go to play the note with the normal embouchure, the combined fact of having provided much more breath support and having the ideal amount of lower lip pressure, the note is going to sound much more full, vibrant, and alive. And then for a real challenge, once you can do this on C sharp, try moving down chromatically until you reach a low B flat. So keep working on these exercises every day, and remember, let the air do the work. I'm finishing up the edits to this video, and I just remembered something else I want to tell everyone. And that is, when you're positioning the saxophone in your mouth, it doesn't necessarily enter straight in. Depending on the structure of your teeth, jaws, and lips, the mouthpiece on the cork could be turned a little bit one direction or the other, and the entire saxophone itself may be angled to the left or right to some degree. And if this turns out to be the case for you, don't worry about it, because many great players do this. For example, Kenny G or Baptiste Herbin. But okay, now for the big controversy. What about a jazz embouchure versus a classical embouchure? Well, in my opinion, there is only the saxophone embouchure, which is not one thing. The saxophone embouchure is always adjusting at a practically subconscious level to allow us to get the tones that we are aiming for. Something that will have much more of an effect than your embouchure on whether or not you get a classical or jazz sound is going to be your choice of mouthpiece. Specifically, the interior dimensions of your mouthpiece, but that's another conversation entirely. In fact, there is something that will influence the type of sound you get even more than your mouthpiece or embouchure. And that is something that is often called your concept of sound. Internally, what kind of sound are you aiming for? Sigurd Rascher wrote in Top Tones for the Saxophone that all musical activity originates in the mind, which means that the biggest influencing factor on the type of sound we get is our mental image or auditory image of the sound we are trying to produce. And this is influenced by the people we listen to and the music we like. And that is another conversation in and of itself, which I will certainly tackle soon here on this channel. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to like and subscribe, because it really helps me to get my message out to more people. I also wanted to take a moment to announce that I'm opening up pre-orders for my completely revised method book to build a range into the 5th octave and beyond, if you care to do so. I'm very proud of what I've put together here, and I think this is a saxophone tone production method that will stand the test of time. And I really want to share it with as many people as possible. I'm aiming for a release date sometime later in March, so stay tuned for more information as we get closer to that date. And now that you know how to form the perfect embouchure, you should check out this video here about how to face the final boss of reeds, the Vandoren Blue Box 5.